Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the first episode of 2025 of a Mark at the Mic Goes Rogue podcast, the podcast that takes you outside the city limits of Burlingame. This is Mark Lucchese, also known as Mark at the Mic, and my guest today is not only a longtime family friend, but she is one of San Carlos's most active citizens. Prior to recently retiring from Arundel School, where she worked 26 years as the school librarian, she is also a board member of the Arbor Bay School, where she assists in fundraising for special educational needs. She is also a board member of the Friends of the San Carlos Library. She was also a production chair for the San Carlos Chickens Ball, a member of the San Carlos Lions Club, and she even squeezes in time to volunteer for the San Carlos Museum. She is the mother of 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and there's even more to this list, but let's just go ahead and meet my guest today, Linda Fouchy Townsend. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
You bet.
I'm excited to be here.
I bet you are. Then thank you. So I think we're going to start this little episode off with some fun facts, if you don't mind. All right?
Sure.
I've got 2 or 3 lined up. You worked for the late, great 49er receiver, number 87, best known for the catch, Dwight Clark.
I did.
What was that all about?
He had a small office outside his restaurant in Redwood City called Clark's by the Bay, and he needed an assistant to help him with orders, taking messages, that kind of stuff. And a friend of mine knew about the job and recommended me, and I worked for him for about close to a year.
Really?
And yeah, he was. It was kind of during his Eddie D era. He was. He had the restaurant. He had obviously retired at that point.
Yeah.
But he was real active in community stuff and that kind of thing. And I would he'd order shirts or something, and it was just as an assistant.
Yeah.
Whatever he needed, I would make phone calls for him, and it was fun. It was he was a very friendly, outgoing kind of guy, busy all the time.
Right.
And it was it was a fun job to do. I got to talk to lots of exciting people.
Oh, I bet.
And I think my most favorite was the time I talked to Huey Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
When he called in, and I had to talk to him. So, and Bill Walsh, and
How cool.
yeah, it was very fun. And after about a year, he was cutting back and not working in that location any longer. He was spending a lot more time on the East Coast, so it kind of the job kind of faded out.
But the restaurant continued for a while?
For a little while, yeah, not too much longer after that. And I ran into him. I was lucky enough to get invited to one of the last games at Candlestick Park, and we were up in one of the suites.
Yeah.
And he was doing his little PR stuff for the 49ers and walking around into each of the suites, and he came into the one I was in, and we looked at each other and we're like, oh my gosh. So I've got a great picture with him that I cherish, and
I bet.
fond memories of him. And I was obviously very sad when he got sick and we lost him. But
died way too young.
yeah, I was actually at that game too. I was actually at the game with the catch, so it kind of went full circle. Yeah, I was actually.
That's the one that turned the 49ers around.
It sure did.
Excuse me, sure did. All right, fun fact number 2. You're going to be on the cover of San Carlos Magazine in March?
In March, yes.
Did you do the shoot yet? Did they do it?
Yeah, I just did the pictures. Tomorrow, actually, I'm have an interview with the woman that does the articles, the editor, Stacy, and I'm interviewing with her tomorrow.
Great. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on.
Okay.
So fun fact number 3, and I'm not really sure where I got this, but it sounded kind of interesting. And so there's a sign out in front of Brittany Acres School. It was purchased from a Florida company, and it's made to withstand hurricane force winds. Are you with me here?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's not going anywhere anytime too soon. But later on in the show, I'm going to let you explain the significance of that sign because somebody queued me up on that.
Oh, okay.
So put your thinking cap on and we'll come back to that fun fact, right?
Okay.
All right. Like I said earlier, you've been a fixture in San Carlos for many years. How many years have you lived in San Carlos?
I moved to San Carlos in 1982. I grew up in Redwood City, and I was very familiar with San Carlos. My brother and sister-in-law lived there, and I loved the small town feel of it. So looked around until we could find something that we liked, and we moved in 1982.
So that's 40-something years.
Yep.
I can't do the math, but it's 40-something.
Me neither. That's quite all right. Yeah, it's over 40 years. I know that.
And as I also mentioned in the intro, you have been involved in lots of activities, okay? So I scaled them down a little bit for this particular show, and I'd like to talk about the San Carlos Chicken Ball, your passion for libraries, your 25 or 26 years as a school librarian for Arundel, and your own home Porch Library. Okay, we go with all that?
Sure, sounds good to me.
All right, so we're going to start with the Chicken's Ball. That was a large fundraiser, wasn't it?
The Chicken's Ball was the longest running PTA event in the United States. And it started in the 1940s. Howard Demke is the teacher that started it as a fundraiser.
For the schools?
For the schools to raise money for milk. For the milk, it was like a fund for the milk for the kids. And he based everything on the Barbary Coast, what used to be called the Chicken's Ball. And it was a contest between all of the old-time bars in town, and the women would wear feathers and boas and everything, and that's where the chickens came from, and they would compete with each other for pokes of gold. And so he took that and ran with it and created this show that ran since the 40s all the way through. Actually, our last show was actually 2018. 2020 and 22 were unfortunately victims of COVID. Yeah, and they were victims of COVID.
So 18 was the last time around?
Last time we actually had a show. We were ready to go on with 2020, and during dress rehearsal, we'd had our tech rehearsal. We were ready to open in a week, and COVID hit.
Yeah.
And we had to cancel, unfortunately.
Right.
And 2020, it still wasn't, people still weren't comfortable getting out there and doing a show. So we didn't do one. And the last 2 years, it's been really difficult. So we've ended up, unfortunately, canceling shows and had a hard time getting it back up and running. So the 2024 show did not happen. Unfortunately for me, I was going to be production chair, which means the production chair was the person in charge of the show itself as far as the dancing and singing.
How many schools participate in that or participated in that?
Well, it was service committees, and it was schools and
So
groups.
You mean like the Rotary could do something, or the Lions?
Yeah.
Okay.
What it consisted of, there was 6 skits that were 7 minutes long, and they could be, we had 3 that were variety skits, which were like dancing and singing, and 3 melodrama skits, which were melodrama, which had a hero and a villain,
right,
and the heroine, and we had those, and then in between each of those skits, we had what was called entr'actes, and they were singing and dancing. And
is that like what they call oleos too?
Exactly,
to that?
exactly,
Right.
like they used to have up at Drytown, and so that would give them time to set up the stage for the next skit.
Yeah,
that would always happen in between. So the purpose was each skit competed against one another, and for what was called the pokes of gold.
Right.
And any money that was raised still went to the schools, even though it wasn't technically a milk fund.
So let's say Rotary won.
Yeah.
the money that they won would actually go to the schools or not to the Rotary
They
Club?
would go to the Rotary Club. It would be a nominal fee. It'd be
Right.
maybe $20 if you won a poke. But the money that was raised by selling tickets to the show went to the schools.
Got it.
Yeah,
So the
so-
real prize wasn't, well, it was the money that was sold for the tickets. That's where the cash was.
Right. Yeah.
And the prize that went to the school or whatever was just nominal fee.
Exactly.
Would you get a trophy or anything?
No, they
Okay.
it was different. There would be like 7 or 8 shows. Back in the day when I first started, we would have shows Wednesday through Sunday. And unfortunately, by the time things wrapped up, we were only doing shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday is a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, and it was 2 weekend. It would be 2 weekends.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. It was.
How many years did you
know,
participate?
Well, I went to my first ball in 1990, and then in 1992, I did concessions, which was during intermission. And the schools would set up outside, and we would sell hot dogs or cookies or whatever. And then actually went to my first show. And then in 1994, my kids went to Britton Acres School, and they had not had a skit involved in the ball for many years. And a group of us said, we have to change this.
So a school was not required to participate.
No. What they would do is they had a steering committee, and they would pick those 6 skits. They used to have groups, they could receive 15 skits, and
Right.
then the steering committee had to pick 6 skits that performed. And we would, they would decide who's going to be in the ball and who wasn't. And those that weren't in the ball, if they wanted to do a concession, they could.
Yeah.
So my first real ball of being in and on stage was 1994.
Yeah. Did you do any of this acting when you were at Notre Dame High School in Belmont?
Nope.
So you didn't have any real
Always-
drama.
No, it was always one of those shoulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda things.
Yeah.
But I never did. So this was a great way it was fun. It was creative.
Yeah.
It was,
Do you think it'll ever come back?
I don't foresee that happening,
Right.
unfortunately. It's kind of a sad day for San Carlos that we lost that part of history of
Yeah.
our town, because it is a big part of our town.
Yeah, it sure was, or it sure is.
Yeah. Those
that's
that
for sure.
have, those that had the opportunity to go were, always remember it as being being fun. There are lots of memories. Those of us that were in it,
You guys worked long hours, so.
but it was wonderful. I think that's part of why the problem we had with getting people today is with the cost of living. We used to have a lot of family involvement, but everyone's working
Right.
long hours. Both parents are working.
What do they say? It's a different world now.
It most definitely
Yeah.
is. Most definitely is.
All right, let's talk about your passion for libraries, because apparently you really have one, okay? When did this whole interest in libraries begin? Was it in grammar school, high school, or it just came along, or what?
Well, I've always been a reader.
Yeah,
I've always enjoyed the experience of having a different adventure whenever you're reading a book. And when I started having kids, I started volunteering in the library at Britton Acres and got to be good friends with the librarian there and helped her out a lot. So when she was retiring, that's when I decided I would love to do that job. And that was 1998. Which is when I started at
were you the
Arundel.
sole librarian when you took that over?
Yeah, yeah. And I was over at another elementary school in San Carlos called Arundel, and stayed there for 25 years.
Did you leave Britton Acres to go to Arundel, or did you do both?
No, at the time I started, actually all the librarians, it was being recognized as an important part of education.
Right.
And so they were hiring a librarian for each of the elementary and middle schools. So it just so happened that the principal at Arundel wanted me to come over to Arundel and work. So I only volunteered at Britton Acres, but I actually worked at Arundel.
So you got a salary job at Arundel.
At Arundel.
And you were the one and only librarian there. Did you get an aide or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Just
all right.
me and 400 kids.
So you currently, though, you're serving as the vice president on the board of the Friends of the San Carlos Library.
Right.
Is that sort of a foundation to raise funds for the library?
We support the library if they need new furniture, they need programs.
Right.
That's what we do. I started there about 4 years ago. A friend of mine was on the board, and they needed some members at large, and he thought of me and recommended me, and so I joined as I said, about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And we have like monthly book sales that we do
at the library itself, right?
At the library itself, yeah. We do every third Sunday we do a book sale, and I specifically work in the kids area. I help out during the sales with kids, but I also do down in our little parking garage. We have a whole area that people can donate books. Mm-hmm. And I sort and do all the kids' books that will either go to the sale or they'll go into our shop. We actually have a shop in the library. And we sell kids' books, adult books, DVDs.
Yeah.
And then we also, like I said, have this sale on the third Sunday of every month.
So are you there every third Sunday then?
Every third Sunday.
How many hours is that?
Well, the sale's from 1 till 4, but, I'm usually there 12 to...
Yeah. You start early,
finish late. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. But...
And what about San Carlos Hometown Days? Did you do some... Is that still going on? Do they still have Hometown Days?
Hometown Days
Are you still participating in, selling books there as well?
Well, that got started, about maybe 10, 12 years ago. School librarians, there was 6 of us, decided that it'd be a nice community service to sell some books, because we had parents that kept asking us what they could do with books, how could they donate their books. So we would have them bring them to school, and we would bring them down to Hometown Days, and we would have a big, huge book sale that parents knew what to expect, that we would be there every Hometown Days on
bargain books.
Yeah, we'd sell them for maybe 25 cents, 50 cents,
right.
a dollar or two for adult books.
Yeah,
and it was more of a community thing than it was about raising money. The money we divvied up the money at the end. It went to each of the libraries, and we used that money to buy new books for our school libraries.
Yeah,
and to be honest with you, I'm not sure that that's happening this year, because I did retire and I kind of spearheaded that. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that is going to happen again this year. Hometown Days definitely will happen.
When is that?
Must
be sometime in summer, right?
It's May. Warm. It's usually May 7th, the weekend of the 17th. Mm-hmm. It's always the weekend before Mother's Day, I think, or after Mother's Day. Okay. And this year's special Hometown Days, because San Carlos is celebrating our 100-year centennial.
Oh, isn't that great?
So there'll be a lot of extra fun things going on acknowledging that.
Yeah, it's a great time. Burlingame was a few years back. It's a blast.
Was it? Yeah. We have lots of stuff planned for that.
Can we go back to Arundel for a minute?
Sure. Okay.
So you were the only librarian at Arundel, right? Like, what was your hours there? Like 9 to 3 or 8 to 5 or something?
Well, unfortunately, with education, things happen. When I first started, we worked 30 hours a week, which was
considered a full-time position with benefits or what?
Oh yeah, with benefits. Good. But during the course of my experience there, we had our hours cut for budgets, and
Was that kind of a roller coaster? In other words, years you had your 30, other years you went down to 24 or less or something?
It was one of those, we never knew until June what our next year
Were you ever laid off completely for a year?
During COVID, yes.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Unfortunately, when COVID hit in March, we closed everything closed down. We didn't know that was going to happen, but we closed everything. And then during that time, I would do stories for the kids. That was the only way we could kind of keep in touch. I did a lot of video stories and sent those to the families.
So where were you reading? At your home?
At my home,
And you just get a child's book?
I would pick, some books that I knew the kids would enjoy, and I would videotape me reading them.
How great.
And did that for the kids. Yeah, it was fun. It was a way to keep connected with them.
And you put it up on YouTube?
Put it up on YouTube.
How did people even know it was there? I mean,
I would send it to the principal, and she would post it
on a newsletter or something?
Yeah, on a newsletter.
How cool. Was that once a week or what?
Yeah, once every couple of weeks I would do it.
Yeah.
And had a lot of fun.
The reading hour with Linda.
Yeah, I used to have a cat that loved to get on the video with me, so would always the kids always knew me and the cat as far as our story time. And unfortunately, I did that through the end of the school year, but the following year we were laid off for a whole year. It was very sad. We closed our libraries. We didn't agree with that process because we knew we could still get books in kids' hands, and actually, that's kind of where my whole outdoor library got started.
And we're going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
While you were the librarian at Arundel, did you order all the books? So you were given like a budget?
I was given a budget. We had a wonderful, wonderful PTA that gave me a good, healthy budget. Didn't come from the school district. It came directly from the parents, the PTA.
Was there ever an issue with, I don't want to say banned books, but would they say, hey, stay away from this particular book? Or
we would
suggested reading, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. We would get, there would be lists of banned books, and to be honest with you, most of us would make a point of making sure those books were in our libraries as opposed to being banned.
Good.
But it didn't seem to be a huge issue.
Okay.
Where, in I think California, in the Bay Area in general, is fairly, open-minded about different issues, and banned books weren't a big particular issue for us.
Do you run into that at all in San Carlos at the actual library?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't want to speak for them for sure, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
I kind of doubt that they ever have an issue with it.
Yeah.
I don't hear about it myself.
So you just retired, last year?
Just retired in June of last year, and
are you going to miss it?
I already do.
Uh-huh.
I will say I miss the kids the most.
Uh-huh.
That's the hardest part about being gone, is the kids. I miss my staff. I probably would say I don't miss getting up every morning at the same time. I don't miss having to think, what am I going to bring for lunch today?
Yeah.
Or, that part of work itself. I kind of like the fact that I have the freedom to choose what I want to do and when. But I do miss going up there. I've been up a couple of times to read stories to the kids or that kind of stuff. But I do. I miss it. And I actually miss the job because I absolutely love being a librarian at a school. I always felt it was the best job on campus because I got to know everybody. I knew every child in that school. And that was the best part, is knowing them and getting to know their personalities and see them around town. I love that.
Watch them grow up.
Yeah, and believe me, I actually, when I left, I had maybe 4 or 5 students whose parents I had when I first started.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
That's
believe
crazy,
me,
yeah.
it was crazy when I think, oh my gosh, I had your parent, and I remember them very well.
When did the light go on for this Porch Library? I mean, how did that? What were the origins of that?
Well, let's see. We closed down in March originally.
Yep.
And in June, I had a lot of parents say, "Hey, we're home and we're cleaning out our kids' rooms, and we have all these books, but nothing's open. What do we? Where do you suggest we take our books that we want to donate?" because the San Carlos Library, everything was closed
Right.
down, right? You couldn't really do anything. So I said, well, bring them to me and I'll think about it. I'll figure it out. And
So all of a sudden you have all these boxes piling up in front of your house or on the
Exactly.
porch, I guess.
Yeah, I did. I had a lot of people bring me kids' books and some adult books too. And luckily for me, I have a great front porch that's covered. And I said, well, I'll put them out in front of my house, and if people want to come and take books.
Did you sort though? Did you put
I have I'll have the kids' board books together. I have. Then I start with the beginning reading books up to all the way up to teen. And then eventually I started getting a lot of adult books, and parents were there with their kids looking
paperback,
at books.
hardcovers, all that kind of thing?
I get both. And I don't have as many adult books as I have kids, but
Right.
I do have a selection of fiction books for adults.
So do you? I mean, it's all separated out. So if somebody just came up, there would be fairly. They'd say,
yeah.
this is pretty organized.
It's very organized, yeah. It's not like a regular library where you have to come and check something out with me. It's open all the time because it's covered, it's protected, it's in front of the house.
So people are free to come and go.
They come and
You don't
go.
necessarily have to be there.
Nope.
So there's no helper for you, and
It's me, myself, and I.
it's free press.
Yeah.
Free press.
Yeah, yeah. And it's open unless it's raining, and even then they still have access to a good portion of
Are
it.
people still bringing books, or are they
Oh, yeah.
dropping them off at the library? So they're
Nope.
Wow.
I still am out there, a couple hours a week to organize and put new donations out.
Do you have to be a San Carlos resident?
Nope. No, I'm open. If you want to come to San Carlos and see what I have.
Yeah.
It was really nice during COVID because I had a lot of people say, "Oh, this is wonderful. I can't get to a book." And
Right.
part of the problem when schools did go back and we were laid off, the libraries at school were still closed, and the district's idea was, well, they can go to the public library, which at that point had started to open. But they would have a series of books that the kids wanted to read, but they might only have one copy of it.
Yeah.
And the thing with having a school library is it serves that school community. It doesn't serve just the whole town of San Carlos.
Right.
So it was really missed that we didn't have libraries open. So having my library outside was great because they could come and find a lot of the books that kids wanted to read because they were given to me by kids that had read them.
Yeah.
Right? They donated them to me. So, and it's still up and going. As long as I continue to get donations and continue to have people come, I'll keep it open.
Do you have any idea how many books you have sitting on the porch?
Oh my gosh. It's kind of deceiving. You don't think it's as many as there are, but I probably would say 800 to 900 books.
No kidding.
Of kids' books.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have a selection.
So somebody just drops off a box, you sort through it and put it away. Is that how that works?
I sort through it, put it out.
Yeah.
I go through what books that are out there. If I know that there's a book that's been there for a while and it's not going to get read, it's called weeding. It's like the garden, and I weed out the old books, put in the new books that are donated, and all the books that I pull go to a couple of different places.
Right.
Mostly to the San Carlos Library for our donations and for our sales. I give a lot to what's called our little libraries, which is a group of people that will take the books and distribute them to areas that don't normally have a lot of books available. They'll take them to East Palo Alto or
That's
Fresno
great.
or Watsonville, that area. The rest go to what's One Life Counseling in San Carlos, which they have a monthly giveaway for families, and so they go there. So books, Children's Book Project gets books. We don't ever throw away books.
Yeah.
They always go to a new home somewhere.
That's
so
great.
yeah.
I mentioned the magazine coming up. You're going to be on the cover. But did San Carlos gave you a proclamation a few
Well,
months back?
No, I got one during COVID when I was doing all this. I got what's called their gold coin for community service.
Yeah.
From Sarah McDowell, who is the mayor.
Right.
And it's a recognition of doing something in your community.
Right.
So it was a nice honor.
Tell us about the magazine. What's this all about then?
Well, San Carlos Magazine is a publication that comes out monthly, and they highlight families or people in the community for different things.
Right.
And a friend of mine nominated me for that because of my involvement in the community of doing mostly library and having my Porch Library is really probably the biggest part. But I'm really firm believer in getting involved in your community, helping out, doing anything you can to make it a better place for everybody to live.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's also the best way to get to know people.
Really
I love walking down Laurel Street and knowing people. I think it's wonderful.
And you're also, I didn't mention it in the intro, but you're also a member of the I almost said Burlingame, the San Carlos Lions Club.
San Carlos Lions
You're
Club.
called not a lion, though. You're called a
a lion.
Okay.
I'm a lion. Lion Linda.
Lion Linda.
Lion
All
Linda.
right.
Yep. I'm a member of the San Carlos Lions Club, service club that we do a lot of things around town that, help out.
Well, we're going to look for this magazine in March. I'll send Kathy down there. And,
I'll make sure you guys get a copy of it.
Absolutely. So,
I'll autograph it.
yeah, why not, right? Okay, can we
Yes.
talk about Fun Fact 3? And I mentioned earlier that there's this sign in front of Britton Acres. Is it called Britton Acres?
It's Britton Acres.
Yeah, not Brittany, Britton Acres.
Britton, yeah.
And you volunteered there.
I was all three of my kids went to school. It was it's elementary school.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it used to be a kindergarten through 5th grade, and then changed, like all the elementary schools in San Carlos. Then it changed from, and now it's kindergarten through 4th grade, and currently it's kindergarten through 3rd grade.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that it's
Shrinking.
well, it's what they did is they created another what's called upper elementary school.
Oh, okay.
They have 2 of those, and then middle school. So it's K through 3, and then 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8. So
what's the deal with this sign that was made in Florida and it's windproof and all that?
Well, back in the day, I was president of the PTA, and we never had anything out in front of the school to acknowledge the school other than a small sign that said Britton Acres, but there was no way of letting parents know events that were coming, any kind of message board or anything. So I decided that was something that we needed, and I to be honest with you, I'm not sure exactly why I went to this hurricane-resistant sign. However, considering we're in California and we have earthquakes, it's going to be almost like having a hurricane.
Yeah.
So that sign will be there long after the school.
Yeah. And did you have to raise funds for that, or did that come out of a PTA budget or something?
We raised. We didn't do anything specific. It paid out of PTA funds for that,
Yeah.
and it's still there, of course, and use it for acknowledging events that are happening at the school, and it's a nice big sign. So I remember installing it. We had a lot of concrete that had to be poured and everything. So that was kind of, I drive by and I see the sign. Happy to know that I left my mark there. I left my mark at Britton Acres.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I guess I could throw fun fact number 5 in, or 4, and something like that, because you're an avid 49er and Giants fan, and I see that you've gotten rid of the red and gold because football season's over for the 49ers, but you've got your orange sweatshirt on, your orange scarf, you're all fired up. Spring training is next month and all that.
Spring training's in March. I'll be there, and I'm looking forward to the new season. I think it's going to be exciting. We have some new players.
Yep.
Buster Posey's, running the joint.
He's running the show, man. Yeah, he's running the show.
I'm
That's
excited
great stuff.
to see,
Yep. Okay, so before we close this out,
Yeah.
we have just a couple of more things to do. Why don't you give a shout out to your family, friends, colleagues, etc.?
Oh, well, I am always thrilled and happy to talk about my family. I have 3 kids, Adrian, Kevin, and Courtney, who are married to their wonderful partners, Eric, Cameron, and Michael. I have 7 grandchildren.
It's amazing.
I know it's no. What's amazing is the oldest one's 15. I don't know how that happened.
I think it's amazing and great that they're all still relatively close to you.
They are. They're
As far as geography.
Geography-wise,
Yeah.
yes. They're kind of. My oldest daughter's in Napa, and my son is in San Carlos,
Yeah.
and my daughter's in Redwood City. So we just do a lot together, and it's convenient. It's nice. I don't have an airplane trip to see anybody. I
Right.
can get in the car and visit my grandkids, and who I didn't mention. There's Leo, Makeda, Joe, Calvin, Ella, Dean, and Connell. Those are my gang, and I do want to acknowledge. You said a shout out. I'd like to acknowledge the other really hardworking librarians in San Carlos, the
Yeah.
school librarians, because they, do a lot of above and beyond.
Sure they do.
Libraries are important. They're extremely important, and I hope they continue to be supported by the school district because it's a important job on campus.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yep.
for that. One more fun fact from me.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Uh-huh.
So today, you have the honor of being my 100th episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
My 100th podcast.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm thrilled because we've known each other for over 50 years. You're one of my wife's closest friends, and it's just terrific that we were able to do this. And also, 4 years ago today, January 30th, 2021, I retired from Molly Stone's.
Oh, my gosh.
So today's a big day.
Today is a big day. Well, I'm honored that you asked me to do
Absolutely.
this. I'm thrilled that you asked me to do this.
And I appreciate you being here today,
yeah,
Linda.
yep,
Yeah, and I'm
yep.
so pleased that you're going to be on the cover of San Carlos Magazine, and can't wait to see it. And thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it was my honor. Thanks, Mark, for having me.
You bet, Linda. I'd like to thank Linda Fouchy Townsend, one of San Carlos's leading citizens, for being my guest today on a Mark Goes Rogue podcast, the podcast that takes you outside the city limits of Burlingame. Thanks to my Minister of Podcasts, Mike Nagler, my Director of Marketing, Adrian Lucchese, video by the great Ray Tyler, and original music by Bray. You could hear more of Bray at braymusic.com. This show was produced and directed by Shelby Lucchese. The Mark Goes Rogue podcast was recorded on Thursday, January 30th, 2025 at the Burlingame Public Library. And before I close out, be sure to look for my next episode of Burlingame. It's a Small Town with Rosanna Myers, a longtime member of the Burlingame Hillsborough Neighborhood Club. So until next time, everyone, thanks for listening.